I will call the joint special meeting between the Moose Lake City Council and the Moose Lake Water and Light Commission to order for the city side.
And in the absence of President, Commissioner Skelton, I will call the Water and Light Commission to order. And for anybody that views this, myself and Councilor Jutnan, who serves on both. So he is also a member of the commission.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Introductions. We need to go around. Does everybody know everybody? Can I get a approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
I guess I would have to do approval also. Approval of the agenda,
So moved.
and I will second it. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Public comment. This time is reserved for comment from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 2 minutes. Seeing none, anybody from the public, we'll move on to new business. Resolve Labs Bitcoin mining operation. A process and timeline discussion.
Oh yes, just wanted to have a brief discussion about what meetings have occurred recently and the meetings that are yet to occur regarding this particular topic. So the city council engaged in an emergency meeting yesterday morning at 9 a.m. Subsequently following, there was a Water and Light Commission meeting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. We have tonight's joint city council meeting with the Water and Light Commission. And then up and coming, we have a planning commission meeting pertinent to the conditional use permit for the project on Tuesday, February 24th. That meeting will occur at 4 p.m. here in the city council chambers. And then subsequently following, we will have the city council meeting at 4 p.m. on March 11th, in which estimated timelines would be looking for final review and approvals of the conditional use permit, the ground lease, and additional documents that might need to be drafted pertinent to attorney recommendations moving forward.
Any questions or comments? B, Flattery Hood recommendations.
So administrative staff from both entities have been working with the city's attorneys regarding the ground lease. And so there have been lots of discussions regarding what that might look like and how to implement components from the public hearing and feedback from the community that can be addressed within the ground lease. Some of those items we have discussed and will continue to discuss might be sound mitigation, berm, things to happen on the site, the pertinent area specific to the utilization of the Bitcoin mining on the city's parcel, things of that nature will all be spelled out within the ground lease. We are continuing to meet regarding that. In addition, we are having other discussions with the city's attorneys regarding some of the metrics and components of our agreements. And one of those being the general rate. And so the city's attorney did issue an attorney-client privilege memo within the last hour and a half here that went out to council. Essentially, what we're looking to accomplish is making sure that we have the dynamics captured in documentation between the city and the Water and Light Commission, something that has not been established as far as the general fund rate is concerned, or what we can't seem to track down at this point. And so kind of memorializing that dynamic within an agreement moving forward will be important. It is something that the attorneys are recommending, and they did call that out to the city council. In addition to that, there have been discussions regarding the contracts and agreements, and you know, with any agreement and with all contracts, there is risk and liability associated with such. And so those memos have gone out to council regarding those particular topics. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask or to just, you know, discuss as need be. We are going to continue to work with the city attorneys on what their recommendations are for each of these documents moving forward. And we'll make sure that we're collaborative with Water and Light as well. As information is given to us, we'll share it in order to work through anything that might arise.
Any questions? Comments, Chris?
I guess I got some comments, just regarding this memo we just received. It appears from their conclusions that all the, what am I trying to use? Well, basically that the city is the only one that can be sued. And so we're taking on all the liability. Has that, have you guys talked about that at all? That, you know, how this would be, is this something that we could put in an agreement that you guys would hold us harmless? Because if, you know, this is putting a lot of a risk on the city, the taxpayers' shoulders. So I guess that's very concerning to me.
I could just start here, and maybe Jim, you're most familiar with it, but we feel we've developed a very good contract with Revolve Labs to prevent anything from happening. I'm not sure if you want, you could forward the contract to Chris. I'm not sure if it's in final, it's pretty much our final form to see it, but I think we have tried to minimize liability in any way possible for ourselves and for the city.
So the amended contract has been, have you signed the amended contract, or is it just out there?
We haven't done the amended contract yet. We're waiting to get the conditional use hammered out before we committed more resources from Revolve to facilitate that.
Okay, is that something that, because my concern is when this contract was signed, is the city, obviously I'd have to believe, is named in there as part of this project?
On the purchase power agreement or the land lease?
On the purchase power agreement.
There is, well, the only mention in the contract that I can recall right now without it in front of me is that the city would facilitate the land lease and conditional use.
Because I guess I just want to say I'm disappointed that we weren't able to send it to the attorneys to review it, our attorneys. And again, and this amended one, if it hasn't even been out yet, I'm concerned about the liability that the city obviously is on the hook for if, and there's a mention here on, well,
Are you referencing the memo?
that, the memo we just got, you know, it says per our conversation with Mr. Peterson, it appears that there is a high likelihood Revolve abandoning the project if certain lease terms are not drafted in their favor. I mean, that's kind of, to me, is a little,
So I will say that we haven't seen that memo,
okay.
and I just found out about this about an hour ago. So we haven't had time to deliberate on our side at all about the newly identified risk. So I can't speak to that. We haven't had a chance to do that. And with regards to Chris's language that you just cited, There's no concern for me to make anything favorable for Revolve. I've negotiated on behalf of the residents to get us the highest rate possible with them. I just tried to help facilitate the language going back and forth.
So do you have any concerns of them walking away? Or-
That financially, that wouldn't be a problem for us. That would be a good thing. If they build the substation and walk away, we own the substation like we talked about many months ago. We would own the substation, the infrastructure, all of this groundwork would be done. We'd bring another customer in.
But I mean, prior to this being completed, they walk away from the project and just abandon it, right, you know, right here now, because they won't agree to.
I would say our exposure would be that they'd have infrastructure there that we could sell at the power commission level or continue to build a substation. But as far as exposure goes, we own the land, or you, as an organization, we own the land. If they were half done with the substation, we could either choose to finish the substation and proceed, or we could liquidate the infrastructure there and mitigate risk. But we're not, during the process of construction, we don't have any exposure in the build. That's on their dime, and everything that they build, we own. So there's not really any risk, quantifiable risk, I guess.
Bert?
If I could just speak, I think with everything we do, there's liability. And hopefully we have minimized or looked at everything to minimize liability as much as possible. If I'm not mistaken, the agreement that Glencoe had was like a 6-page agreement. Ours is like 28 pages or something like that. And that is to, you know, to protect ourselves and to, in the end, protect the city as well. But, you know, liability, everything the city does has some liability with it.
But can I respond to that by saying, generally, our council would review something like that? You know, I don't think our council got to review the document until after. Was it, I don't know, when did they review it?
So the city council still has not seen the agreement, because
Nor have we.
because it went to, I believe you shared the originally signed agreement with our city attorneys.
Because that's all we have on our desk.
Correct, and there was never permission given to disperse it, and so it has not been dispersed collectively, you know, amongst anybody, at this point in time. The city's attorneys are aware of an up-and-coming amendment potentially, and so, and we just received, a communication from attorneys that went out to council right prior to this meeting too, and so there hasn't been an opportunity for a lot of digestion on it, in order to make sure council has all the information possible. It has to be distributed in a timely manner and was done so. I think, you know, if there's a way to collaborate moving forward on potentially the amendment and or anything of that nature, is that something that you're asking for?
Well, yeah, I would like to see that our attorney has, you know, some input or sees this amendment prior to any signature on it, because there are certain things the city needs to have, you know, protection and so yeah, I would definitely like to see us work together and, you know, have our attorney have some input before anything's signed.
Lou, got anything?
Yeah, I think it's more difficult to, you know, when people in the public ask us what's going on, and we don't really know anything about that agreement. It's just makes things difficult. Yeah, it makes it difficult to decide what's the right thing to do. From that memo, I couldn't tell if, is there something that revolves saying if they don't get certain things, they're gonna walk away, or is that just conjecture?
It's hard to quantify that. It's not conjecture. There are limiting languages in the ground lease document. It's open for negotiation. I'm not negotiating on behalf of Revolve Labs. I simply tried to help facilitate the communication going back and forth to expedite the process. But anything that's in the contract that makes the city feel secure is certainly something that I would recommend the city present to Revolve Labs and negotiate on their own. I don't negotiate on behalf of the city. I'm just trying to do what I can to facilitate the agreement. But yeah, I can't speak for what Revolve would view as an issue or an exception to the agreement.
Any other comments? Moving on to the land lease agreement discussion.
So these discussions occurred collectively with the council at an emergency meeting on Tuesday morning. The council had made a motion to propose the land lease amount to the commission in the amount of $50,000 annually. That consideration was brought forth to the commission at their meeting yesterday afternoon. Is the commission open to, sharing what was reached from a commission perspective back to council at that meeting?
I'm sorry, you just want, basically what we agreed to do was and do I have the resolution here, or the motion?
We basically voted to approve.
Yeah, we voted to approve that $50,000 proposal for a lease, yeah.
So with both parties being in agreement, we can share that information back to the attorneys. They are working on finalizing that ground lease document. And so the ground lease is going to be between the city and Revolve Labs in the amount of $50,000. And so we will make sure that that amount is incorporated in the document moving forward. And all parties at this point in time, from a city perspective, between the city and the commission, are in agreement about the amount.
Any other discussion on the land lease side? We haven't seen the created document, so nobody here has seen it, so it'll be hard to know what's in there for sure in the final one. It's been negotiated.
Yeah, we've seen the draft and we've been working through the draft. And we'll make sure that it's visible to everybody and all parties upon completion of the drafting phase.
Any other discussion on land lease? General rate discussion.
So the general rate is the other component in which involves the city and the commission. And so what has been asked is that the commission essentially bring forward a proposal to the city regarding the general rate. And that is the handout that you received from Dan. Mr. Dan Brown today, and so we've asked Dan to kind of go through this and give the council an update regarding the general rate and what a reimbursement of such would look like.
And actually, this is probably more all-encompassing of the entire financial situation than just the general fund. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of how this deal looks as it is today. The general fund will be at the bottom, so I'll save the best for last. There's 3 columns, and that's just based on the usage out of Revolve. 10,000 kilowatt hours, those are all in hours, is probably what they'll come in at. That's at about 50% capacity, so day one, that's probably the column they're coming into. 18,000 is our currently approved maximum the GRE. They've approved up to 18, probably about the time they're gonna be live. So they could go to that about the time they're turning on. And 20 is the maximum that they're allowed. So that'll be the maximum this deal can be. So the revenue is really the gross amounts being billed to them based on that usage. We take basically just a adder fee, I guess we call it, and that's the revenue that we get out of the deal in total. We do have to basically pay for the equipment over time. It just reduces that revenue over, it kind of depends, the payback period is just based on which column they're falling into at the time, so that will be a reduction to our cash flows, so resulting in the total bill to revolve, so that's the total. Obviously, sending the general fund over to the city and the land lease, that's essentially coming out of our pocket, results in net cash flows in the green and the percentage of the cash flows that Moose Lake Water and Light receives. And then just down below that, just trying to get to identifying your sources. So general fund is just the opposite of what's above, land lease, and sales tax, for what it's worth, that will be certainly coming. That's the, just the city portion. Obviously, a big chunk will go to the state and the county also. And that gets you to your total cash flows. I did back out sales tax out of the next group there. And yeah, so without sales tax, you know, we're looking at the full 20 megs, 90,000, almost $91,000 without sales tax, 138,000 with sales tax, and that would be 19% of the deal at that in that bucket. So removing the city, I mean the equipment reduction, you know, getting back to, you know, not assessing the equipment part and calculating out what your real percentage is. You know, we're looking in that 11.5, 12% range. Obviously, our cash flows will include that equipment reduction. That will last, for the first two columns, it'll last well past the first 10 years. And the last column will almost last the entire contract term. So that will be our equipment reduction for most of this contract in the far right column. The equipment reduction is based on which column it is, so it accelerates into that far right column. For the 5.2%, any questions on that part, I guess I should ask first.
Anybody got any questions?
One thing I think it's important to mention from a city perspective is when you look at averages across the state for, you know, profit sharing and revenue sharing from municipal electric utilities back to the cities that they operate within, the state average is right around that 12%. And so it's good to see that the general rate and the land lease, you know, afford the city a percentage that is within that realm of sharing. It is, you know, is equitable from that perspective.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I'll add something. Just when looking at this first year, I think it's important to note that also what wouldn't be in here is like the attorney fees for this first year that are gonna come in. They're gonna come in pretty high, knowing 30 and Hood and stuff like that. And then, of course, our overtime hours that it's been working for this, so just keep that in your mind as well.
Any other comments?
All right, to the general fund. A general fund is assessed based on electric usage kilowatt hours. I don't know the origination of that, why we used kilowatt hours, but obviously, we've determined pretty early on that kilowatt hours on this kind of a class of customer would be enormous. So we kind of looked at what's an equitable way to figure that out. And so we started to look at, the general fund as a percentage of electric revenue, taking it from the revenue side. And so this kind of says that in 2024, our last audited period right now, we collected $234,000 in general fund fees, and that was assessed on $4.5 million of electric revenue. And so we calculated that 5.2% would be the percentage that would kind of get you there from revenue. I mean, if we recalculated the way we do things, if we charged 5.2% of revenue, we'd come to the same $234,000 to our customers. So I guess then we applied that to the very top bold row, the revenue per year, not after equipment or anything like that. It's based on, so on the far right column, $788,000 times the 5.2% is the general fund transfer there that's indicated. So calculated differently, but generally equatable from a revenue perspective.
Any questions on that portion of it?
So
Yes. Sorry.
I'm a little confused here. So is this what is the general rate going to be for Revolve?
Yeah, at first, it's right under total bill to revolve, sorry, transfer general fund.
Mhm.
That is the amount of, that second row, revenue per year times 5.2%, gets us the numbers on that general fund row, 20,000, 36,000, and 41,000.
Is there a specific rate? I mean, what does an average user of a home do for a general rate?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is the average residential user?
Or a big facility, Quick Trip, any of them that, I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's not big for any one customer, honestly. I don't have that in front of me, but.
It is 5.2%.
Right. Yeah, like even the state facilities, they'd obviously be two of the larger ones.
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't have it. I can definitely get it for you. Give you the top.
I'm wondering what,
top two.
if it was comparable or?
Yes, I mean, on paper, it would be absolutely comparable. I'm sorry, is the 41,000, I mean, that's compared to 234,000 for all other customers combined, so.
So collectively, without Revolve, it's $234,269. From Revolve by themselves, it's $41,000.
It's a good question. I apologize, I don't have that answer, but it would be worth.
Well, it would be, their totals would probably be in your total electric revenue, correct?
It is, yep.
And it's that portion. So they're paid 5.2 in 2024, 5.2% of their total revenues was passed through the general fund, so this would be 5.2, if I'm understanding correctly, 5.2 of what you get just from revolve,
Right.
plus whatever comes out of the 5.2 of the regular, the rest of the revenue that you get,
Yep.
correct? Is that Bill? I don't know. I'm assuming that's, I'm thinking that's what it is.
So the Water and Light Commission has put a lot of time and thought into coming up with an equitable way to address the general fund rate for this unique customer. And it is a unique customer, a unique scenario. And so they've crunched the numbers and come up with 5.2% of revenue as the reimbursement back to the city. That will be based on usage, so as they build up over time, from a usage perspective, that number will change. But the combination of the 5.2% from the general fund reimbursement with the land lease, without sales tax, gets us to that, that threshold of state average from a sharing, profit sharing perspective with other municipals and cities alike. So, I can appreciate the time that has gone into that calculation. And I don't see another mechanism, in order to establish a reimbursement amount, and, it's, the numbers are coming out, in an equitable way for the city.
I think to answer your question, my gut would say that that is comparable to like the state facilities.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank you.
should be right around that area.
That's good. It's a good analogy. Yeah, I just want to say, I appreciate the hard work all of you've done, to bring some more revenue into our city too.
The commission has already formalized via motion this reimbursement structure. We are looking for, formal acceptance from the council on this particular rate structure. Then what we're doing moving forward is that allows us to then, draft some of the documents that the attorneys have recommended be drafted between the city and the commission to kind of formalize this process and reimbursement of the general fund rate. And so, from a city perspective, we do need, if council is prepared to engage a motion that would formalize the 5.2% general fund reimbursement. Based on the information that was received today via the attorneys and to address Councilor Husel's concern, there is always the opportunity to incorporate that we will have a formal agreement between both parties as recommended by the attorneys, in order to, substantiate that reimbursement. And if you want to incorporate that in the motion as well, there's always the opportunity to do so.
Any other discussion on the general rate discussion?
Are we looking for separate motions for the lease amount and the rate amount? Is that, so we want to do the rate amount first?
If they'd accepted the lease amount.
We already voted on that.
We did the lease amount.
Did we?
I thought it was a proposal.
It was a
Oh, was it?
proposal.
Okay, probably
Yeah.
not.
All right, then I
Yeah.
wasn't sleeping, so, okay.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll move on to motions and move on to motions.
I see you have us first. I don't think we have any motions to be made here. that I
Thank
can
you.
think
This agenda was established prior to having our additional meetings, so I apologize. It was done so before that.
I'll make a motion that we set the lease amount for Revolve at $50,000 annually.
Second that?
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I guess, do you feel comfortable with that breakout?
The 5.2%, as presented from the commission, based off of total electric revenue and the general fund amount billed by other customers, does present as an equitable way. And I think it is important to kind of memorialize that dynamic and that partnership in an agreement based on attorney recommendations. And so, if council's ready to engage at the 5.2%, my recommendation would be to also include the drafting of an agreement by the attorneys.
Any questions or comments? I'll make the motion for, well, kind of like you said, what you said is 5.2% with a signed agreement after attorneys review it. That's what I tried to say.
I'll second that
She's got
motion.
it.
She's got it. Is there a second?
I just did.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I do appreciate how much work you guys put into this. I think once we all get on the same page, I think we've kind of started in all different directions. But I'm hoping once we can get to the end and it'll be a good thing. But I do appreciate your guys' work. I know it's been a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you've been doing here. And I think that everybody in this room is trying to do the same thing to better the community for everyone, for all the entities involved. But one thing as a counselor, I have to be able to sell this to the public. And one thing that I think that would help sell this to the public, you know, I don't know if we don't have all the figures yet, but if we could get a list from the city and from the Water and Light on all the positives that this is doing for the residents of town, you know, like for the city, sales tax, the lease, funds, jobs, things of that nature, and for the power and light, you know, the infrastructure that they're going to be putting in up there at the south part of town, and the costs of that. You know, like I said, I don't know what you have for figures yet, but once that stuff comes in, and then the payment to the city and how that works, you know, if we could have that information, so when people approach us, you know, we can tell them all the benefits and the reasons why we support this, and that'll go a long ways to helping us explain this all to the people that we talk to. Because I've been approached by quite a few people, some opposed to some for it. But until I have that, I don't have like any hard evidence, hard numbers, you know. If we have the numbers, then it's easier to explain.
Thank you, and just from the commission point, and speak for both of us, yeah, it has been a process. Other than, I'll just say this one, it's a unique opportunity that has presented itself to Moose Lake. And by chance, just happened to be where our superintendent met with the superintendent of Glencoe and said, somebody's looking at this opportunity, and I still go back to when we had our informational meeting. I don't think anybody could probably put a private building in the city of Moose Lake that would generate this much income for both water and light and for the city. It's a unique opportunity, and I hope, and I think we have, I sincerely believe we have addressed the issues that people are most concerned about. And if I read the Pine Knot article correctly, it was the sound issue. And I think we've worked a lot on that sound issue too. That sound is not going to be impacting the community. And I may be, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Jim, but for people that, I think the sound would be more of an issue in the wintertime, but the fans shut off in the wintertime with the foliage gone. And I think someplace, I'm not sure, don't quote me on numbers here, but say at 50 degrees, fans begin to get shut down. 40 degrees, fans are not running anymore. So much, we live in an area that is not over 40 degrees enough of the time. It will eliminate a lot of the sound. There won't be that sound issue. And I know from our community meeting, there was the water issue where it's not a water issue. They just need water for a restroom. If water goes out to the area, it may be because Water and Light wants water to the area for our facility there. It is the reason it will go to the area, not because of this project or anything like that. So the water issue's not there, the sound issue, that was the issue we began addressing from, I think, probably meeting 1. So we hope to get this all in place so that this can move forward perhaps as early as June, July, something like that.
Yeah, the city's always been unique by having the advantage of having that power plant, It's always been a benefit that most small towns don't have. And, we have this new technology that's coming out, and it always takes a long time for new technology to make it up to northern Minnesota. The technology usually starts in California or on the East Coast somewhere, and it takes 10 years for new technologies to make its way up here. Using an example, like grocery store scanners. My dad always brings those up. Like, they were using grocery store scanners 10, 15 years in California before they ever made it to Minnesota. And now we have new technologies that are coming out with Bitcoin and AI, and we have an opportunity to make some profit off of a new technology and bring us, sort of say, Moose Lake out of the dark ages and into the light in a way by going towards this new technology. And I don't think a lot of other areas of northern Minnesota are going to benefit from something like this. And if Moose Lake has the opportunity to take on a project like this that can help the city, help the Power and Light, and mostly help the citizens, I think that it's a great thing. If we can get it all to work out and everybody to agree, I'm all for it.
And again, not to keep belaboring the point here, Councilor Lauer, but one of the concerns at the informational meeting was that this is going to turn into a data center. It really cannot turn into a data center because we do not have the fiber, the capabilities, the redundant internet, etc., to turn this into a data center. This is probably about as far as we can go. And the land and all those things. We'll leave the data center to the people in Herman County to deal with it.
And to echo that point, aside from infrastructure issues that wouldn't allow it to become a data center, Melissa and I have been working diligently with the city attorney to construct language in the contract that would not allow them to do anything other than the operation that they would be doing today.
Any other comments? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.